Hey, welcome back to LTL True Crime. We are live right now on this Thursday, December 28th, 2023. We are marching towards the new year and December. Oh gosh, I'm failing. Marching towards a new year, 2024. And I want to welcome everybody back into the live show. Make sure you're chatting. Let's blow up that chat. Let's get some thumbs up going and get this stream out into that evil algorithm. So we had an incredibly emotional day to hear today. If you didn't catch my live earlier this morning, I was live streaming the unfortunate demolition of 1122 King Road, which I feel is ultimately the biggest piece of evidence in this case. And unfortunately, Scott Green wanted to play God today and made sure that the house was destroyed. One thing that I did find out from actually one of my moderators before I went live today was he reached out to me, Tsunami, that was in the chat, and he said, hey, just to let you know, I don't know if you saw, they actually really completely leveled the property today and graded the area. And I said, wow, it was just so quick. I thought it would probably happen over a day or two. I knew the house was going to definitely be out of there today, but to have it graded and stuff like that is just, they really wanted this done. So I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I know a lot of you are at a loss for words. It's a very conflicted thing. The Gonzalez family has made a statement. They are very angry. The Chapins had made a statement. The Canodals had made a statement. And, all of you have spoken as well, too. And some people just say, tear it down. It's time to move on. And some people are very conflicted. And my whole thing was, and before I bring my guest in, my whole thing was, like Steve said, it's better to have it here and not need it than to have it gone and then have to go back and need it. What if there's some piece of critical evidence that you need to go back, or just a critical space, and look at a physical space and gauge from that, and it's not there anymore? So, listen, I'm going to bring up my guest here. We'll bring Kimmy in. She's going to talk a little bit about Bluetooth tonight with us. But before we get that, we're obviously going to talk about the demolition and a few other things before we get kind of into the meat of the bones of the show. Let me just do this. I'm going to do some housekeeping really quick, and then I'm going to bring Kimmy in. Again, let's be kind to her. She's a little nervous, and I told her she'll do well. And let's do this. Let's bring Kimmy in. Hey, Kimmy, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. Hey, listen, thanks for coming up on panel. I noticed the last couple lives talking about Bluetooth, and I noticed you in chat, and you're like, hey, I actually know quite a bit about Bluetooth. Your resume said you worked for Verizon and you were kind of in the Bluetooth area for about 5 years. So why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about your experience?
I trained tech support agents for Verizon for a little over 5 years. We mainly, it was like I had to teach them how to sell a product and to know the ins and outs, and also how to teach customers how to repair their own issues so they don't, knowing your device is so important. So it's like there's vulnerabilities in everything, at any digital device, there's vulnerabilities. And if we learn what those are, we can protect ourselves from horrible things happening.
Of course. So let's do this before we get kind of into the Bluetooth and what took me and got me there and kind of getting you on the show. Let's talk about the obvious, the elephant in the room today. We had the King Road home actually taken down. I'm going to play some video while we talk here from the Law and Crime Network. Listen, I know you're someone that has followed this case immensely. Hang on, I'm on double speed here on the video. Let me just slow this down. We don't want it to come down that quick. And actually, they're speeding up the video. Interesting. Listen, I know you're someone that has followed this case from the beginning, and you and I talked off air before we chatted for almost a good hour, and you had some really interesting theories and things that kind of brought you into this case. Knowing what you saw today, how does this make you feel? Do you feel this was a big mistake? Or, do you kind of stand by that, hey, it's time to move on?
It was a huge mistake what they did. They can't take this back. I have always said to listen to Steve and Christy, listen to the families. And I know that the Chapins have a different opinion about it, and I respect that.
Sure.
But it's the reason that really upsets me. It's the fact that the president of the university had full say in what to do about this house. And if they're aiming for a trial for the summer, why not keep it up for a few more months? What's the problem with, and now, I think there's still going to be a cloud over this small town, this community, with a big hole in the ground now.
Yeah,
And
it's never going to really go away. I mean, it's always
oh,
going to be there. It's always going to be afresh. And I think the thing that really disappoints me, and you've probably heard me talk about this, and the whole thing that disappoints me is that I was in the initial impression that the house was given to the university, obviously to do what they wanted. And when I first took all this in, I said, well, what a great idea. Now the university construct a wonderful memorial there. I mean, if you're memorializing something, I think that's the word I'm looking for.
yeah,
You don't have an event or a piece of history or whatever that you're memorializing, and I take it out of that area and I bring it across campus and put it there. It doesn't make any sense to me.
mm-mm,
It literally makes no sense to me. They could have done a beautiful entryway to where this property was, whatever they wanted to do with this healing garden, maybe put some benches in there, a
yeah,
really nice spot with a nice memorial of all the four faces on there, and just letting people go there and be in that area and grieve and give
right,
back to that community. And it's now going to be robbed from us, the people that really care about justice in this case, but we're going to put it on campus and we want you to come over and check out the I think you know what I'm
yeah.
getting at.
So now these kids have to just see it every day at the school. Like
Sure.
I mean, I get the memorializing, but don't put it on the school. Just this whole thing was a mistake. I can't wrap my mind around how, like, ask yourself, does this hurt or help the defense? And I 100% believe that they're popping bubbly
Oh,
all
you
day.
don't think Ann Taylor was rocking in her chair today again going,
Oh, for
yes, you
sure.
know?
Well, they high-fived at least once.
100%. The minute that front end loader hit that house for the
Oof.
first time, she was popping a potty,
Look at
a
that.
party popper.
I feel like they demolished it in a way to conceal the rooms that had the crimes committed.
Mm,
The way they
interesting.
made the roof
Yeah.
fall, you couldn't see Xana's room, you couldn't see Kaylee's
Oh,
room.
that's a good
I
take. I
mean,
didn't realize.
Maddie's room. I
Yeah.
think they did purposely demolish it in that way, which at least they did that, you
Right.
know? I
I'll
just
be honest with you. I am surprised just looking at the drone footage. There's no one there. So I don't know if they had it blocked off down the street or they just put an all,
hmm,
points bulletin out
yeah.
like no one's going to be allowed on the site. But I mean, just looking at, there's no one here. I
Well,
mean,
when
it's
they started the demo, they were like 30 minutes early. So
yeah,
all these people started showing up when they already had the front off of the
yeah.
house,
But I
and they
mean,
did
you
that
look here, there's like some
strategically.
construction workers. It might look like a
Yep.
couple police officers.
'Cause this
Um,
is dawn, right?
yeah, this is just about maybe 20 minutes in because I
Mhm.
caught it. I caught it about 5 minutes after they started, and they started early. It's almost like they
Mhm.
did it on purpose.
No, they did. They
Um,
strategically started early.
yeah, but it's interesting to see kind of these drone shots now because now you can see that back lot. You can see the
Yeah,
side road here, and
yeah,
I
true.
was I was I was told, someone said to me that a lot of people, actually, I'm sorry, someone didn't say this to me. I caught it on a video. Chronicles Olivia was saying on her video, she was there the night before. So last night she was there. She said in her video, she took her mom down there to see the house. And she said that a lot of people don't realize when you're standing outside the house and you look at it, it's actually a lot smaller than you think. And I
Yeah,
didn't realize that. I thought it was this grand scale house, which was very interesting.
it's like rooms stacked on each other. you know,
Yeah.
instead of like hallways everywhere. I think it's more like just stacked rooms. But yeah, I heard that too. I heard that recently.
And the thing that's kind of interesting about that, and I was actually talking to my moderator Tsunami about this offline before we went live. I said, well, it's interesting because if they say that the house is a lot smaller than it is, and the time frame that they put that Kohberger allegedly did this, he did it. Uh,
Right?
uh, it would make a lot more sense because the
Yeah.
house is a lot smaller to navigate than this, bigger house. And I just kind of was thinking about that, today too. So
Yeah, you kind of like put a timer on for 2 minutes, right?
yeah.
That is a long time, okay?
Mhm.
I don't care who you are. If you make ramen at least once in your life, it feel like it's an eternity. So, this guy who was focused, planned, very knowledgeable about stuff like this, he went in and took 2 minutes of his time per person on a sleeping drunk young adult.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I feel like the only one that may have made an issue for him was Xana. She was clearly awake.
Yeah, we talked about that, and it was funny. Your theory and my theory kind of lined up with that, and I actually did a live about that quite a few months back, about 8 months back, and it was funny. Your and I theory offline, we were talking about it, really, really lined up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just sad. It's a sad day. I know we're all a little hurt today. I have my Vandal sweatshirt on today in support of
Mhm.
the Idaho 4, and you know, it is what it is. It's now gone. It's now erased. The community has to move on. We have to start moving on because the house is not coming back. It's gone.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I was sending out his email, like, because it's public knowledge, like, you can look it up, the President Green's email, and everybody and their grandma were emailing him, and he just had this copy paste response to everyone.
yeah. Yep.
So,
And I just funny, he made this quote about, we taking an account of we understand the emotional attachment to the house. I really don't think you do, Scott. I really don't think you do. I mean, I have to say that out of being genuine. I really don't think you do. And I
I
think that
I think he read the room and didn't care.
yeah, yep. So, it really is what it is, and it sucks and it hurts. And I know that, we'll go through a little bit of a healing process, but, maybe this gets us closer to trial now. That's the only way that I
Right.
look at it. We're past that. Let's get to trial. We all know, we have a very strong feeling, and at least I do. They have the goods on this guy. We're going to talk about
Oh,
that,
yeah.
the Bluetooth. But let's do this. So we'll back out of here. And I did find one thing today that I don't think maybe anybody saw was I did find a video with Brian Enton talking about this. I know Brian's on vacation, but he did a nice little 3-minute spot here on News Nation to give his feedback on how he felt. And let's hear from Brian.
You were on top of this from day one.
I'm going to tell you, Brian's probably very emotional about this too. I mean, he's done a lot of reporting,
Yeah, he
on
was
this.
there from day one.
Yeah.
Today, as you see this house being demolished, despite the objections of at least one of the families.
Yeah, I'm off, but I've been watching Nancy's reporting all day and her tweets from out there. It's kind of like unbelievable to me to see that house down. It happened a lot faster than I expected. It seemed like really within a couple of hours they had done most of the work with tearing the house down. And I've been in touch with the families over the last couple of days, Kaylee's family in particular. And this is really, really troubling to them. I mean, they fought really, really hard.
Yeah.
Hoping that the prosecution and that the University of Idaho would change their minds and decide to keep the house standing until a trial. But they had their minds made up. I mean, they weren't going to change, and it's done now. That the house is down.
We'll talk a little bit about, for those who weren't following it as closely as you, what went into that decision, because the argument that there might have been evidence in a home like this that was the scene of a brutal murder seems logical, but I suppose both sides eventually agreed that because of all the technology we have and everything else, it wasn't necessary in this case. Talk about how it unfolded.
Yeah, so the prosecution and the defense has said that they and the police that they did 3D modeling of the house, that it was not necessary for it to remain intact, that a jury could see everything that they need to see through the 3D modeling, and that they had the measurements. And since the very beginning, even within, I remember a couple months after we started covering the story after the murders, the University of Idaho was talking about having the house torn down. The owner of the house gifted the property to the university, and the university did not like the house standing. I mean, it was difficult for the college kids who live in that area to see it every day. They didn't like the, gawkers and the sort of looky-loos that came around to take pictures, which was always kind of creepy that people did that, I thought. But they wanted the house gone. They didn't think it was good for the community. And the families were concerned that, what if the jury wants to have a jury view? I mean, we've seen that in other cases. We saw it in Murdoch recently, where the jury went out to the scene of the murders, and will they want to do that in this case? That's what concerned the families. But the prosecution, defense, and the university said over and over again that they thought this was the right call.
Now, I assume at some point next year you'll be moving back to Idaho, and there'll be a lot of coverage of this case. But do we know, I mean, what's the latest on the Brian Kohberger trial and how all that might come together timing-wise? Where are we?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's been another frustration for the families, that there's not a trial date set yet. The latest we've heard is the prosecution filed a motion saying that they would like to see the trial happen in the summer of 2024. That's just what they're proposing. We haven't heard, the defense's side of that. We haven't heard from the judge. So it's possible that, summer 2024, we could see a trial, but we really just don't know for sure, which is so painful for the families. I mean, imagine there's not even another court date.
You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing 2025 now. And the reason being is with that recent document that came up where Ann Taylor's trying to essentially contest the judge's decision to dismiss the indictment. So it's essentially starting another paperwork jam. And they're also talking about change of venue, and then there might be another hearing. I mean, this might get pushed out now to 2025.
Yeah, I think it will be this coming summer.
I hope so.
I really do, because I was saying this before the announcement of the demo, that there's something going on in the background, because the judge had the in-camera review. Have we heard anything else since? I don't think so, right?
No.
So I think there's something they're working on in the background. Prosecution felt it was necessary to put in that paperwork. And also, I really do believe that maybe they found something else.
I think they found a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, no. They found a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
recently something else.
Yeah.
I think, they continue to find new things.
Yeah.
And I'll elaborate on that too. But honestly, I think the judge is gonna deny Ann Taylor's requests and delays. Judges can just put a stop to that and just let it happen. And I think Judge seems to be pretty balanced.
Yeah, I think he's handled everything really well.
Absolutely.
I think he's been fair to both sides. I think he's funny at times when he says to Ann Taylor, I think your ideas and motions are creative.
Right?
That's always fun hearing him say that, because I think it's a little bit of a win for us that are not the pro-Kohberger people. We feel that Kohberger is guilty, and we have every right to say that. I mean, I have every right to say that, and that's my feeling.
And I also believe that I understand the idea of change of venue, but that community was victimized. Okay. Mm-hmm. That community should decide who's innocent and who's guilty, because that's where that person might get released back into.
Exactly.
It should stay put.
All right, let's finish this. We got 15 more seconds, and then we'll start getting into Bluetooth.
Set right now. So they're sort of living in this weird legal limbo, not knowing, what's going to happen next.
Thanks so much for watching.
Just real quick, another couple thing I want to just remind everybody before we get into the Bluetooth. I was looking at some older articles today. You have to remember this. investigators out measuring tire marks. You know, they were out there measuring tire marks. We had the visual markers that we saw, the evidence markers. There was a note that was collected. Kimmy said that she thought that you said something about a cell phone possibly being collected. There was another thing here, things that you don't want to forget. A source said that the victim's hands were bagged to protect DNA evidence. So a lot of people, I think, just go on what they find out as far as the surface. But I'm going to tell you, all your mouths are going to drop when this comes out in court. If you think they're only going to court, the prosecution's only bringing to court with what has been put out in the media, I think you have another thing coming to you. I think they really have the goods on this guy.
Oh, they got a lot. They got a lot of bullets in the chamber. I'm going to tell you that now. It's going to be one after the other.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's talk about Bluetooth, and let's talk about how I kind of got there and what actually got you on the panel. So many of you have been following over the last week. I've had some really hot videos lately, and I've kind of re-raised this point about Bluetooth. And I had that moment when I was watching the recent video of the Gonzalez family with their interview with Brian Enton. And Steve said this, he said, oh, it was talking about items that were taken in evidence of Kaylee's that they haven't gotten back yet. And he said a Bluetooth, a speaker. He didn't say Bluetooth, but he said a speaker, which we're in the technical age. So let's just say it's Bluetooth. So it's a Bluetooth speaker that we haven't got back. And he said, I thought it was really odd that they kept that. And I went, you know, I kind of freaked out. And I remembered back in February of 2023, there was an article, and there was actually a thing that came out on Banfield. She was with a guest and talked about this possible finding a Bluetooth speaker of Kaylee's. And I went, oh my God, like now we can start kind of connecting some dots. So I listened to that interview with the Gonzalez family, and I'll just pull that up really quick so we can reference it again really quick. I'll just play the section where he said it.
I know you mentioned that that you guys wanted to get like her phone back. Is there anything else that like you guys are like, oh my gosh, I would love to have this?
We asked for a list of the things that they had to take, because we know of some things like a laptop, an Apple laptop, and a couple of things. We couldn't even get them to give a list. So
of things that they had. And I mean, maybe it sounds stupid, but I don't really know why Kaylee's phone is evidence. Like, what is on? So it makes me think, what is on it?
Yeah, that makes you go cuckoo.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, okay, what is on it?
Her speaker, it's kind of unusual item not to give back. The laptops, multiple laptops, not just one.
So I went, aha. And then that brought me back to that article back from February when they said sources told News Nation that possible Bluetooth connection to Kohberger. And I went, that's got to be Steve. I mean, Steve had to have talked about that, because who would be the source? But then now it's almost a year later and he's talking about it. So I'm like, Steve had to be the source of bringing that up to News Nation. So essentially I went through that, and then someone emailed me and said, hey, have you ever seen the August video of the noise complaint? And there's a speaker. I went, okay, well, let's take a look. So I grabbed the video, we pulled it up, and sure as hell, it's right there, this JBL speaker. And again, I'm not saying that that is Kaylee's speaker, but it could be a possibility. It could be a possibility that that speaker was there the night Kohberger came in to that sliding glass door. And we kind of hashed it around and said, you know, hey, you know, maybe he got ballsy enough to come up to that door and look in one of these days, because we know he was in the area 12 times, and maybe possibly had his Bluetooth on and it pinged to this speaker and built that relationship with that speaker, a handshake. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So overall, what I'm getting at was Kimmy was in the chat and said, hey, I know about Bluetooth and you're on kind of the right track. And I went, okay, well, let's have you on and talk about Bluetooth. So Kimmy made some notes. I'm going to bring those up, and I'll have her just kind of talk about it. And if any of you maybe have some questions later, and she can, try to answer them for you, we'll do that. How do you feel about that, Kimmy?
That sounds good.
All right. Sorry, it was a lot of talking.
No, you're good.
I just had to get people there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Lay the groundwork.
Yes. All right. Let me see if I can get a better view for us here. I'm going to bring, let's see. I want view. I want focus. There we go. Oh, shit. Maybe that's not what I want. Let's bring this back down just so we can.
You have the part that says inquiry, and
so I have all of this.
Yeah, go down right there. So number 1 under connection process.
Yep, inquiry handshake.
Yes, that is what it's called, an inquiry. So that's where you leave your digital footprints, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to figure out, and from what my understanding in all of this is, and hang on one second, I'm just going to bring this over here so we can make it a little bigger. My understanding in all of this is your device is constantly, so if you have your Bluetooth on, this was my question. If you have your Bluetooth on, that's constantly sending out a signal, correct? To a receptor of a Bluetooth device. And it's saying, hey, can we,
your Bluetooth is thirsty for a connection. It is just wanting a connection, and whoever, it's the master device and the Bluetooth connections. Your master device can connect to up to 7, but that Bluetooth device can connect to the 1. There's some that can do like 3 and multiples, but it does one master device will take precedence over all those. And so your Bluetooth speaker is wide open. You don't have to physically pair. You can, sometimes you do, but most times you can't. Carrie.
She says Bluetooth is a slut.
Bluetooth is a thirst trap.
Right. So that was like my point that I was trying to make. And everybody's like, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You have to engage it. And I'm like, I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
Yeah, there's different modes, which I talk about right under that, where there's options to pair, but your Bluetooth device is set up in such a way that it's open to any master device that wants to connect. It's the master device that you have to have control over. That makes sense.
Right. So my bigger point that I was trying to get to with everybody with this, and I'm sure a lot of people are still here that have been watching this, but my bigger point was this. If this wasn't the case, and let's just say Kohberger did this crime, which I know he did, but let's say that he got close enough to engage the speaker, whether it was in a room and it tried to handshake with it, whether my theory, and it's just a theory I threw out, he came up to the house, possibly could have been that big speaker that he pinged off of. But the fact is, Kaylee's speaker is held in evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why would it be held in evidence? So something or someone connected to that speaker that wasn't supposed to.
Correct.
And that's what kind of tells me that it's got to be Kohberger. It's got to be his phone.
Right, because every device has its own specific address, right? So that Bluetooth picks up it's their digital fingerprint. So his device has its own address. And I'm pretty sure there's multiple Bluetooth devices in evidence. It's just Steve is the vocal one. Mm-hmm. And, we're not going to hear about Xana's speakers or Maddie's. We're going to hear about anything with Kaylee. And I appreciate that. I get that so much. I would be such a Steve in this situation.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I mean, if that was my daughter, oh gosh, I'd be standing on the biggest, highest mountain, screaming at the top of my lungs. So let's do this. Let's go back up and we'll just kind of read through some of this, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit on everything that you wrote out, because you did write all this out and I appreciate it. Give Kimmy some heads up here. I mean, she took the time last night into the late night and wrote all this up, this little presentation that she made. And I didn't even ask her to do that. It was just very kind that she did that. And, you know, I'll let her kind of take us through. So it says, to hack into a Bluetooth speaker, an attacker would typically need a certain level of technical expertise and knowledge in certain areas. Gee, we have the perfect candidate, don't we, Kimmy?
Yeah. Someone who wanted to intern as a cloud forensics.
All right, let's take this question really quick. And I'm glad Tsunami brought this up, because we were talking about this earlier. He said, question, what device retains Bluetooth data? Is it the actual speaker or the device connecting to the speaker?
The master device that's connecting to the speaker is, you have to physically add the Bluetooth speaker to the master device. The Bluetooth speaker is going to hold, like if you go into, because the Bluetooth speaker will retain. Yeah.
So let's say,
all
right, so here's a perspective. I have a Bluetooth device in my room. Let's say this is my speaker, okay? It's in my on my table. Bluetooth is on. I always have my Bluetooth enabled on my iPhone, okay? So I walk into the room. It's going to start pinging that device and saying, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to hook up? Right? So then I say, no, and I leave. And let's say you come into the room and it does the same thing to you. What you're saying is that Bluetooth device is going to remember what devices tried to connect to it?
Yes, and
interesting.
What's also really important though is there will be override. So the good thing is that he did, you know, the awful thing is he did the crime, but you know, they scooped up all that stuff pretty much right away. So the other digital footprints aren't going to be very much to override his digital footprint, thank God. And I feel like he had, you know, he made a snail trail of digital footprints throughout that house, multiple devices.
Yeah, and Kimmy and I were talking about this earlier too. Keep this in mind. He was said to be down in that area at least 12 times before that. And we were talking about this. That little area of that, where that home was, okay? You got to think, there's a lot of students and a lot of people that live in that area. How many Bluetooth devices do you think are in that area that he possibly could have been pinging off of? Or better yet, how many Wi-Fi connections? And we heard something about a Wi-Fi connection that Steve said in an interview that he was pinging on. He was so close to the house that he was pinging off the Wi-Fi connection. So there's that too.
Yeah, he absolutely. You know, I think it's even deeper than that. He knows, I feel like he's known how to hack and that kind of stuff on his own accord for a long time.
Okay.
You know, that seems like maybe an interest of his. If he was obsessed and focused and just driven, he would have known how to access their Wi-Fi router. I think he actually has been there before. While the kids were out, I feel like he's just monitored and cased the house, know their schedule, and he went in there and, you know, possibly just hit the WPS button on the router and connected.
Could be a possibility. So let's look at some examples here. You said example, wireless communication and signal interception, 99% sure a signal intercept was used here. An attacker may need knowledge of wireless communication principles to intercept and analyze Bluetooth signals, allowing them to understand and exploit potential vulnerabilities. You go on to say number 2, reverse engineering. Reverse engineering involves analyzing and understanding the firmware or software running on Bluetooth speaker. This knowledge can help identify the security flaws or weakness that could be exploited. Highly unlikely that he even did this or knew about this. And then you went on to say exploitation techniques. Knowledge of different hacking techniques, such as a buffer overflow attacks or code interject requiring to exploit specific vulnerabilities to present in Bluetooth speaker software or firmware. And you said common knowledge of any behind the ears hacker. Basically, BK probably knew how to do this stuff for a long time. I get the suspicion that Brian was a self-taught hacker and had stalked others. Really? Can you kind of like elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So he, I mean, it's documented that he was.
So let me just real quick, I'm going to interject. So
Yeah.
Juniper, I'm going to let you know right now, okay? And if you don't even believe us on the panel, I'll drop the video for you, okay? They had a certified beyond expert of what Kimmy's qualifications are. I think he actually worked in the FBI. I tell you right now, Juniper, even if your phone is in airplane mode, it's still gonna connect.
It wasn't off. I'm going to tell you that now.
It was off.
I mean, it was off, but I mean, it was off, but it's an iPhone. So let me also
it always has low frequency going.
Right. So there's the Find My iPhone, right? And one major thing with iPhone that makes it amazing is that if you lose it and your phone dies, right? Not just is off, but dies, you can still find that bad boy.
Yep.
You know why? Because it's always being tracked by Find My iPhone.
Right. So there's always a low vibration signal come out of that. And I think that expert even said, even if it's off because of the signal that's so low, it's still trying to connect. This thing, that's why they don't put off buttons on iPhones. They don't want you to turn it off. They want it to go all the time. And even if it is off, I know that there's certain apps that still run because it's running at a very, 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 very low energy level frequency.
Yeah, the background app refreshing
is always going.
Yep.
So anyway, we'll move on. So number 4, you said so you think that he basically stalked others before?
Yeah, I do. I think that not only was he a creep to women in bars to the point where he had to have a talking to, but he displayed unacceptable behavior towards women. And I if he definitely stalked someone in that house. I think Maddie, but having the, I guess the, I don't even want to say the ability, but his urge overlapped any common sense. To have that drive, there's the word, to have the drive to do what he did, he's kind of trained for it in a way, like stalking girls, scaring girls. He was training for this.
So Patrick has a question. Says, question, will the Bluetooth know how close the master device is or just when it picks it up?
It depends on the Bluetooth capability of how far your master device can be to it. So like, what did we say that JBL speaker could reach?
It was like 33 feet. But the funny thing is, my buddy Massacre that was in the chat last night, he looked at the manual on that and he said that it could be up to 100 feet for that speaker.
Dang. Okay. Yeah. So it would really depend on the speaker's capabilities rather than, it doesn't tell you distance. So you would know how close somebody was to that speaker, the speaker's capabilities.
Right. And as far as his phone, I'm not claiming it was iPhone. I think it was an Android, but I think most Android and iPhones work in the same.
Oh, was it an Android?
I think people are having conflicting. They're saying Android. Oh. Some people are saying iPhone, but I'm going to tell you, it's
Google is doing the Find My iPhone, same thing.
Yeah.
So Google does the same exact thing as Find My iPhone. And all Androids run off of like a Google type server.
So you said programming, scripting, proficiency in programming language like C or C++, Python. I've heard of Python before, and Java and Java as well can be vulnerable to understand and manipulating Bluetooth protocols or developing custom hacking tools. Again, self-taught Brian would easily learn this. I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
So you went into talking about hacking into Bluetooth speakers. Hacking into a Bluetooth speaker typically involves exploiting vulnerable and in Bluetooth protocol or specific software firmware running on the device. Some common hacking techniques use a target Bluetooth speaker. And you just said, this is what this is what you've been suspecting, and most likely one of those programs was used. But of course, there are multiple ways to infiltrate a Bluetooth connection. These are some examples how a basic knowledge could be done easily. So you said a blue-born attack. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So it's just a not basic, but it's a common hacking tool specifically for Bluetooth devices. And someone mentioned these last night, right, in the chat.
Yeah, like blue snarfing, blue jacking.
Yeah. So they're the most used. They're the most well-known, I guess, Bluetooth hacking tools, because they're easy to access. They're easy to download. They're easy to, if you know how to hack, then it's just a basic, download and use.
And that would confirm, it'd actually be a little bit better, because to know if you did have an Android, most of the time you're using hacking. Androids are usually used for hacking because it can be manipulated a lot more than an iPhone,
yeah, you can download an app through a file via your browser on an Android.
So blue snarfing, what is that? Sounds hilarious. What is that?
It's all the same. It's just different tools. These are the blue snarfing is more about the data on a device. So anything with Bluetooth capabilities, so they would be able to see the addresses that you're handshaking, basically you see the details and the data collected.
Yeah, so Danny says that would that be something a criminology student will learn?
Yes.
In school? Yeah, of course. I mean,
so
if you're a programmer and you're going to probably learn how to do all that stuff hacking in school as well too.
Right. Criminology PhD, they do offer, it's kind of like during like a winter semester course or a spring semester. So you're going to have a crash course in like digital forensics. You're going to learn that stuff. Him interning to be a cloud forensic specialist, you have to have an education in that digital forensics. And they offer that as a mini course within the PhD program.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And then blue jacking. Tell us a little bit about blue jacking. What is blue jacking?
So this is more of a nuisance. This is more of what I think may have been something he used to terrorize them, like reversing that. So if he connects his master device, to their Bluetooth speaker, having the capability to use his mic would be kind of difficult. So using like a blue jacking hacking app, you would be able to speak through the Bluetooth speaker and terrorize some people.
And we've heard about that. We've heard about things like that. I know when the Alexa became very popular, I saw ads like on the national news that people were getting the IP addresses. They were hacking into these speakers and essentially talking to them, scaring children.
I saw that.
And saying like racist things to people because they could get into the camera as well.
That's
and they were like
that.
attacking families. And I remember one time this poor girl was in her room, this little girl, maybe like 8 years old. And he's like, "Hi, I'm Santa Claus." And she's like, "Who's talking to me?" And it really
that probably traumatized her for good.
100%. And I'm sure
that's literally what blue jacking is.
I'm sure that device was thrown out. So and there's probably a lot of lawsuits too. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So cell site simulators, IMSI catchers. So you say a cell site simulator, as known as a Stingray or IMSI catcher, are devices that masquerade as legitimate cell phone towers, tracking phones within a certain radius into connecting to a device rather than a tower. Cell site simulators operate by conducting a general search of all cell phones with the device radius in violation of basic constitutional protections. Law enforcement use cell site simulators to pinpoint the location of phones with greater accuracy, and phone companies. Cell site simulators can also log IMSI numbers, unique identifying numbers, of all mobile devices within a given area. Some cell site simulators may have advanced features allowing law enforcement to intercept communications or even alter the content of communications. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do this, Kimmy. Can you break it down in kind of layman form?
Okay, so this is a double-edged sword because this would mean that he would have to be able to access such a device, and it's a device. It's more like those, like on the other end of the spectrum, like law enforcement, when they're on like an overt operation and they've been casing a perp for a while, they're gonna pretend like he's thinking, dang, I only got 2 bars, my service is crap, I'm still gonna make this call. And it's actually them pretending to be cell phone towers, giving him cell phone service, and he's being monitored, right?
Wow.
So now let's say Brian was that, well versed in this and had, I don't know what access he would have to something like this, but there are other hacking devices that I don't think that are this high tech, but may play some sort of, may generally do something like this. I just don't know those apps. I don't know what those are called.
Sure.
I know that there are IMSI catchers. They're probably not very strong. So let's say should I go into my theory about how he possibly used an IMSI catcher? And I think he did. I think it's called something different.
So let me answer that for you, okay? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so he now I always thought this. I thought, I'm just gonna go over it real quick. I believe that he terrorized Kaylee and Maddie with the Bluetooth speakers. He was saying their names, he was freaking them out, right? So they slept together that night because they were scared. Okay. Because apparently, I don't know, there's conflicting stories, and I don't know if Kaylee went. I think Kaylee went into the room because Maddie was scared. I've heard that more than once. And I think they were both scared. And I feel like he was terrorizing them through the Bluetooth speakers. And I believe that's why the Bluetooth speaker plays a part in this. And I also feel like he intercepted their cell phone signals. So some form of IMSI catcher or interceptor, he blocked their ability to call out. And that's why they called Jack multiple times from both phones. And I've never heard if Jack ever received those calls, right? So they only know from the call records, but they have not elaborated on that. And I'm sure we will hear about it in trial. We will.
Yeah, 100%.
That is a thing. And I feel like they couldn't call out. And he had them scared to bits. And I think he let it cool down so they could let their guard down, and that's when he went in.
That's interesting. Let me just get to a couple of donations that came through. I'm just going to pull this up. Carrie H, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Welcome new members. Unfortunately, I can't see it because I have a presentation up on the screen. But Carrie, thank you for your kindness and support. I appreciate that. And in the very beginning, we had Anna that became a new member as well. I appreciate Anna being here and being part of the membership group. And I had a couple of donations come through on Buy Me a Coffee, and I want to just make sure that I recognize that. Someone, they just want to be anonymous. They left me a $5 coffee. I appreciate that. Steph, thank you for the 15. And that's all I have right now. So I appreciate that. Okay, so let's go into, so you think that he had been terrorizing them through this speaker like over time, or just that night?
Just that night. I feel like, I mean, it's possible. I believe, and this is another part of that, my conjecture here is that there's a plant in the kitchen with spilled dirt, right? And I feel like that is something that I believe that he hid something in that dirt, and he retrieved it on his exit.
Interesting.
Really
so you think he's been in the house before?
Absolutely. And I feel like he's been in the house possibly when no one was home, or when only one roommate was home and he pretended to be the cable guy or the HVAC guy, the HVAC guy or whatever. I feel like he could have played that part well, and they would have let him in, and he would have gone through things to, check on the things, the cable, whatever,
Sure.
Doing what he wanted to do, hitting that WPS button on that, router.
So let me ask you a question again, because I always like to kind of dig into how do people come to these theories. What kind of made you come to that conclusion, your theory? And again, I'm not going to shit on you. It's your theory. I've never heard that before, so I think this is very interesting. What kind of led you in that direction? What kind of gives you the evidence enough to kind of put you in that spot?
I believe that with his, a lot of people like to dismiss the fact that he's a criminology student.
Sure.
I'm a criminology student.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as advanced as he is, of course. That's going to be years away, but he was very knowledgeable. He didn't have common sense that night, but he knew what he was doing, and he was known to be manipulative. He was known to be slick, and he always had to uptalk everybody, right? So I feel like he had enough confidence to knock on that door and pretend to be somebody else to get in. I feel like he did, he did give himself access to their life, just so he could take it that night.
So another thing that I heard you kind of say earlier, and then we'll get back into Bluetooth, and I think this is a good segue. You talked about, you thought that Maddie was the target. I'm just kind of interested why you think Maddie was and not Kaylee, because that's always been the big debate.
Yeah, for sure. And I would love to be proven wrong. I would love for this to not happen at all, because I'm a mother of a kid their age, and it's awful, and it's our parents' worst nightmare. 100%. I can't, like, my heart hurts for those parents. It hurts. But I think that because Maddie, her room was more than likely the first place he went, right? I don't think Xana was his target. I think Xana was actually just collateral damage completely. And that, God, the whole thing scares me. I think that he was stalking Maddie, and I think that he was stalking both of them, but maybe out of a jealousy, seeing them in bed together. I think he went in to SA Maddie, and I think it went awry. I really do.
What do you think is the initial connection? How do you think he came in contact with these kids or that house?
I've always thought it might be the pool party Christian invited him to. I really do.
Patty says he gave them no warning. He caught them by surprise. My theory. Yeah. All right. Great segue. Let's go back to Bluetooth. So you just kind of explained how Bluetooth works. I'll let you break it down really quick. Just if you want to give us a quick brief rundown. It's essentially a low frequency radio wave, correct?
Right. Yeah. And this is what I was talking about earlier. So there's the master and the slave model. So Bluetooth networks, commonly referred to as pickanets, that's the slave model. That's the thirst trap Bluetooth, wanting to connect to a bunch of devices.
Always wanting to connect.
Yeah, always to connect. No rest time. No rest time for Bluetooth. But the master device, it, much stronger frequency. Your Bluetooth device does run on the 2.4 gigahertz. So you'd think your iPhones, your Samsungs, they're 5G capability now, right? Cell phones used to be 3G, so they were just a bit above these Bluetooth devices that are just low frequency devices, but they have great range, great capabilities, super compatible with about any device that will connect to Bluetooth. So that's basically it. It's just low frequency, super compatible.
So now you go into Bluetooth addresses and names. Every single Bluetooth device has a unique 8-bit address, commonly abbreviated. This is usually be presented in the form of a 12-digit hexadecimal. Did I say that right? Hexadecimal value. The most significant half, 24-bit, of the address is organized unique identifier, OUI, which identifies the manufacturer. The lower 24 bits is more unique part of the address. This address should be visible on most Bluetooth devices. And then you went into kind of a little subtitle of what you thought. Kaylee's speaker had its own unique identifier address, more than likely identified on his phone or other mic'd up device. All right, explain that a little bit. That's kind of interesting.
Right. So not only do Bluetooth speakers collect those inquiries, but his phone is collecting what it connects to. Like all of our phones will connect to what it, it'll collect that data and hold on to it. You can't delete that. You can't. That's there. Just go and try. It's not going away. You can forget device, but those handshakes, those inquiries do not go away. That's embedded. So her speaker, or speakers, they have the manufacturer, half the address is what manufacturer it is, and the other half is yeah, see? So oh, thanks, Tennessee. Love you, girl.
I think this. So I'm going to squash this. And Mary brings up a point. All right, let's just say his phone was off that night, okay, between those 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. You can still put this theory because we know he was down in that area 12 times before. And that's what I was saying. Either he connected on that night or within those 12 times, he's been there and connected to these devices before. Yeah. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that, because I don't think this moron turned off his phone all 12 times. It was that clearly he didn't.
Absolutely not.
It was pinging the cell towers. So I think he was in the area testing these things to connect to, or like I was saying, it picked it up by accident and made that initial handshake with that device. And that would tell me, if it was a speaker in Kaylee's room, that means he had to have been in that fucking house at one point.
Absolutely. I bet my bottom dollar that dude has been in that house.
I think he was too, because he knew the layout of the house. He knew exactly where to go.
Weirdest house.
Right to the first, right upstairs.
Weirdest layout.
Right.
He had to, and I know you can look it up online too. And there is that possibility. Right. But you have to be in that house. And that's the other thing that hurts about this demo. You have to be in that house, weird layout, and I would love to have seen, but Bill had said that it's against Idaho law for the jury to have walked through that house. That was his statement. If a jury were to walk through, I would want to see from Dylan's point of view, from out her door crack through because I feel like the good vibe sign and those fairy lights were blinding him, but she saw him. He didn't see him.
Oh, I never thought of that theory. Good theory.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that latent footprints are caused by friction, right? So he cut that corner and left that footprint because of friction cutting the corner, so there's just the one, and I'm sure it wasn't a mess on his way out. He just cut that corner and left the footprint.
I was just going to say something and I forgot my thought. You talked about the footprint. You talked about
the weird layout of the house.
Yeah, the layout of the house. I mean, how did he know? How did he know to go upstairs? Obviously, he'd been peeping through that window and looking and knew it was up there, or he had been inside that house, which I think, and I've said this all along too, I think he's been in there at least once. He's gotten in that house
sure. Yeah, apparently that slider didn't lock, right? And I know there's...
Oh, believe me, no one in Idaho is locking their door. They're letting
7 years since the last murder.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm so hyper vigilant. I lock everything and I double check it, triple check it, and then I'm paranoid. So I have a license to conceal carry. Like I am not
Good for you.
Gonna be a sitting duck, you know?
Yeah. So Mary's asking you a question. Would like this excellent guest to give an opinion whether she thinks this was his first murder.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think that he planned it well, but I used to think that Donna lady in Pennsylvania, right? Like
Dana Smithers.
Dana. Yeah. I thought maybe it was him that did it, and then I came to this theory that maybe his dad did it. And then I just let it all go. But
you went a little off deep end.
I will rabbit hole if I let it go. I need to let it go. You know, if I don't, I'll rabbit hole. So, you know, I'm like, what is his dad's shady past? You know, like I don't need to know what Michael Kohberger did in the 70s.
So James is asking, why do you think no DNA in his car or apartment?
Well,
we don't really know that.
We don't.
You know, that's the thing is, you know, I want to make sure that people really understand this. And I just brought up some things that I know that people have probably forgot about tonight. There was articles that I brought up in the very beginning of the stream. I don't know where you came in, but let me just throw this to you. Do you remember that they bagged the victim's hands to cover DNA? That would be defense. You're scratching at someone, you know, did they scratch him somewhere on his hand, on his face? Even if I just go like this, watch. If I go like that, there's now DNA.
Million cells.
If I just go like this, just like that, there's DNA now on my hands, you know? So even just, that's really how they catch a lot of people now is the scratch marks, scratching someone or just even pulling at someone. You know, I scratched my hand like that. There's DNA now. As far as his car, we really don't know. We haven't heard that. I mean, his apartment, we really don't know.
And I'll even give you one better. They have the fibers from Maddie's blankets, right? And even
they have the dog here, supposedly.
The dog, yeah. He didn't have pets, and don't even start with his veganism and loving animals. Yeah. All right, that was supposedly to help with visual snow. Dude didn't love anything in his life.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think he put Murphy up. I really don't. Murphy was just left in there, and Kaylee just in Maddie's room.
Yeah. I think I'm going to tell you right now, if that hair is a sample's taken from Murphy and it's matched to that hair in his apartment, it's over. It's done.
Over. Yeah. Done. Dude said he never been there, right? He started out with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like over. Yeah. And even if his parents had a pet, you know, we don't know if Michael Kohberger went into the apartment. He probably did, but they took all the weird stains on his bed. We haven't gotten a lot of that stuff got gagged up.
Yeah.
I mean, like the PCA.
There's a red stain on his pillow.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah. And apparently murderers pee themselves on their beds or something like that. And he had a big old weird stain. They said they said they called it a big old odd stain or something like that.
Odd stain on the bed.
He's his bed.
That's kind of gross.
I
don't want to hear about odd stains on someone's bed.
Brian Kohberger's odd stain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that specifically with the car, to answer that question, his apartment, you know, I feel like his apartment he had several weeks, right?
Yeah.
To clean. And I think the evidence would have been really cleaned away, or
they caught him cleaning his car. You know what I mean?
Right. Like with bleach, bro. With bleach.
And the night before they went to apprehend him, I don't know if people remember this report, and I think they said this in either one of the Dateline specials or 48-hour specials, that when the police went out to get him, when they found him, when he was down at his parents' house, removing trash and bringing it to his neighbor's yard, trash receptacle at 2 a.m. in the morning, the investigators almost ran into him with their car. That's how they knew he was doing it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. You know,
come on. I mean,
I've heard like the argument that, the dude had gloves on, surgical gloves, right?
Yeah.
And he's bagging his own trash. Separating his trash in the bags, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you do that to keep the bears out. Then why take it to the neighbor's trash, bro? Like there's no that's not a good argument."
And they
He's
said that,
acting suspicious as hell.
yeah, and then they even said that, and I think it was Dateline, a 48 Hour episode, that when all this stuff started coming out, and he was home, his sister actually even went out and started searching his car.
Right. Yeah, and I only heard that like early on, and then like no more. So, but apparently it was a good source. Was it Dateline or was it?
I think it was the Dateline episodes that
Right.
were like actually a really good
Yeah.
one.
They had a good source apparently that mentioned it, and I think that the state told everybody to shut the F up,
Probably, yeah.
you know, because that's going to come in handy in trial.
So let's do this. Let's get through a little bit more. We'll finish
Sure.
Bluetooth, and then I have some questions for you. And if the audience wants to throw any questions at both of us, we can answer them if you have time for that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we talked about the handshake. We know about that. Paging says paging is a process of forming connection between two Bluetooth devices before the connection can be initiated. Each device is known to address the other found it. And again, that's kind of that let's hang out type of thing. You want to hook up, you know?
Yeah.
And then obviously the connection after device is completed, the paging process, it enters the connection state. While connecting, the device can either be actively participating in it or it can be into a lower power sleep mode. Oh, and you said Kaylee or the other occupants weren't actively playing music or any of their speakers given his device over one or the other. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like so the paging is one like master device and slave device. I hate the S word so much, so I
Right.
apologize, audience. It's off. It's out of pocket. Okay, but yeah. So that's one device knowing the address of the other, and that device knowing the address of the other, right? And then they go, all right, you have an address, so we can connect. So Kaylee or any of the other roommates weren't using them, right? So they were in like sleep mode. They
Sure.
weren't in active mode. So his device took precedence over them. You know?
You talked about active mode, sniff mode, hold mode, park mode. You want to just run through those really quick?
Yeah. So basically the active mode, you're this is the mode that is actively connecting, right? So the sniff mode is like, all right, I will connect with you, but if you're not asking for it, that's cool, but I'm here if you need me, right? So hold mode is just like temporary. The device is still saved. It's saved in your device and it's kind of like scheduled to come on and off.
Wow, that's interesting.
And Fire Sticks, I know why they kept it, if that's what you're asking, Molly.
Shoot it. What do you think?
So our Fire Sticks have our login, right? It keeps our we usually use a Google account to log into our Fire Sticks. So they kept that to get his login. It has nothing to do with like what he watches. It also will save recorded videos from security cameras. I just came to that conclusion just right now. So your Ring doorbell, you can save
That's right
on your Fire Stick. I just realized that. And if he was monitoring people, saving it onto his Fire Stick would be the place because he could just destroy it.
And we do know he did set up a security system for his neighbor.
Yeah, because he was moving her furniture around when she wasn't there and it was scaring her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
See, that's
imagine, dude. Could you imagine if he was using her as his test subject?
That's what I've been saying. He was training for this moment. So
and I wonder if he was moving her furniture around to get the coordinates of the room at King Road.
I think he was psychologically messing her up because she's running into her couch when she used to not run into it. And she's like, something's off, right? My clothes aren't hanging up. They're on the floor. Like he was doing little things to mess with her until she needed him to help. And he
and I wonder if he was doing it to see what he could get away with, you know?
Yeah. The thrill. Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk about park mode and then maybe we can get into some of these little theories that we have. I'd love to hear your.
Yeah. So park is the deepest of sleep modes. Yeah, master can made. Yeah, so you can put your Bluetooth to sleep, like, so it won't connect. So it's almost like it's not forgetting the device, just clicking disconnect from the device, so you can park it and you can come back to it. So your Bluetooth is just there for you. It's almost like sniff mode. I'm here if you need me. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I'll speak for Kimmy here. There's language in the document that's used. I think people understand that language. It's not trying to be offensive or anything like that. It's essentially like your host and what would be host and initiator, something like that. So again, it's not trying to be offensive or anything. It's technical terms. I mean, I've heard it a million times. I'm not offended by it, so I know what you mean. Well, that's great. I don't know. I wanted to run a couple of things by you. The knife. We talked a little bit about that. Do you think they have the knife?
Part of me does. But part of me thinks that it's still buried out there. I just feel like they got the feds involved pretty early, right? And they are hound dogs. They sniff out everything.
Yeah, feds don't usually bring things forward if they don't have the goods on someone.
Right. Yeah, they don't waste their time. They'll look at a case and know pretty quickly that it's not worth their time. They came in with tenacity. They and they came and they made this case a solid case. And I'm going to tell you that, I commend Moscow PD for doing all of the things they did to get this guy off of the street.
Yeah.
They did it's a right protocol to get the feds involved when it's such a horrific crime that's taken place. It's above their pay grade, of course. They haven't had a murder in 7 years. They knew what to do. And I commend them for being able to walk through that place, pack it up, give everybody their things back. They had to pack that house up. They couldn't let anybody in to do that lived there. They couldn't gather their own belongings, the survivors, and that whole thing, they had to walk in on that thinking it was unconscious person. Thank you, Dandy.
Yeah, that was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. But they might have the knife. They might. I feel like their confidence level is so high that might be one of the things that they have.
Yeah. And my bigger overall picture of doing this, and I just want everybody to understand it. I think after this, we can move on from the Bluetooth speaker. I've done quite a few lives on it. And I think we've kind of put the theory to rest now. But my overall point in all of this, and I want everybody to understand this, because I know everybody's going to watch the first 15 minutes and then they're going to watch this, but you were all here. My point in this is, if that Bluetooth speaker didn't have any significance in this case, it would not be in evidence.
Absolutely.
It's there for a specific reason. So something or someone that is connected to this crime connected to that device, and I'm already going to tell you who it is. And it's a B and it's a K. He's connected to that device.
It's not Brent Kopacka.
It's not Brent Kopacka.
But you know what? Think about it though. How they have a lot of the tech kept in evidence. A lot of the tech. I'm telling you, the digital evidence is going to him
it's going to blow everybody's mind.
He's going to be turned to Swiss cheese because of it. I'm telling you now.
Yeah. Because you don't think that they didn't go out and look at all those routers around that house and all those other digital devices. And there's probably shit tons of cameras besides the Linda Lane.
Oh my God.
I mean, Linda Lane and Mob Crew's been doing a fantastic job with all that footage. Chris over there has been doing great. We know about the camera position at what
1112.
We know that. And I'm going to tell you,
big one.
I think they have them, and I'll just bring up the map. Hang on.
If you can, Brian, pull up the other Linda Lane footage by the dumpster, because if he could pull up close enough, that camera would see his ugly mug.
I just want to bring up King Road real quick on the map. I'm going to show you where I think they have them on another camera position too. Let's go
outside of the 1112.
Yep.
Oh.
Let
They
It'd
have
be
to
right.
have a
It's right
space
now, though, but I'm going to
something.
show you. I think it is right.
Or he even dumped his bloody stuff in that dumpster. Something stupid because he was on edge and he was adrenaline.
Well, that black jacket's been recently talked about, and I saw
the Dickies overall.
Chris, what's his channel? The Investigation Room.
Oh yeah, Chris Donahue.
He was doing a recent live on that and
Investigation
talking
Room.
about it. I think they got him here too. I think there's a camera here. That's why it's blocked out. I think there's a camera in this area here. I've always said that. Why would they block that out? Why would they block this house out? Because there's probably a camera position.
Interesting. Okay. The one across from it. That's the
This is the house they got. That
yeah.
fund.
Okay, yeah. So that's the one that Olivia visited pretty much right away, right?
Right.
And I believe that the Concalves family, they have seen him.
And then Linda Lane is up behind here, just behind this complex.
Right around
I think they got him here too.
Interesting.
Something there.
So you think it might be a street cam?
If not, one of these houses that's tucked off back here is got something there.
Okay.
A ring or something. Why would they block that?
I don't know.
Right.
So this is just like if you look up Google Maps now, they have all these things blurred out.
It's been like that for a while, but before you used to be able to go up King Road.
So it's probably that corner of the house right there.
Right. But you used to be able to go up this road, but they blocked it now because you used to be able to go up on Google and look right at the house. But they blurred us all out as the investigation started going on. Because I remember clicking up the street and going right up to those apartments.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering if we could just like, I think I'm going to dig tonight through some old pictures of the streets and maybe old videos. Like, remember when several content creators.
Brian Enton went down there before.
Yeah.
He's driven that. Yeah, we've gone back and done all this stuff. And that's the cool thing about this. Going back and looking all over this stuff, it rehashes thing. And look, I came up with the Bluetooth speaker. You know, no one talked about that. No one's talking about
why though? That's so crazy because you gotta listen to Steve, man.
Yeah.
You're the man out. He's got information, you know.
You know, I thought, you know, a lot of this stuff. And then I said, shit, I think we might have something here that's not talked about. And yeah, it was talked about, but it was like once. It was a blip on the map. And
this is going to be an I told you so moment. So many people.
Oh, I'm telling you. And that's what I said. I'm kind of happy that we kind of figured this out because I haven't heard anybody talk about it. And I said, wouldn't it be something we get into trial and they're like, and Brian Kohberger connected to that Bluetooth speaker? I'd be like, fuck, that was
oh my, I'm going to scream.
Yeah. One quick thing here. Check this out. So we've kind of done a lot about the speaker in the back door. Now I found this. And I don't know if this is a Bluetooth speaker or not, but maybe we can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
This is what I was talking about. Now, I understand it kind of looks like it's indented here. It could be a candle.
No, that's no indent. That's a flat surface on top. That's absolutely flat. Let me see.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the Bluetooth speaker that's connected to that dirty ass pan, but and the other, yeah, that's flat. That unless they have a high-tech pepper grinder, which I doubt, that
could be a
looks like a speaker, man. Good catch.
I saw that as I was kind of looking through some of the old photos, and I'm going to tell you, if you want to see amazing photography of someone that has captured this whole time, look up Derek Shook, Shook. He's a freelance photographer, and he's done a lot of stuff for Fox Digital, and he has caught a lot of this. So, you know, Paula says, is that an upside down cup? It may be. Again, could be.
Cups aren't flat on the side like that. One of my JBL speakers is, though.
Interesting. Again, I'm not saying it's a speaker, but I said it could be. This could be. And, you know, just another theory of something that I kind of threw out there. But I saw this today. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That could be the speaker.
I'm wondering if there's any other pictures of the table. I think there is. That one at night. Is this the one at night?
This is the one at night that he snuck in the
Okay.
window. So this was the plant you were talking about?
No, not that. It's the one that's on the kitchen sink.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, the dirt spill. And it might just be because they're messy kids, but
Sure.
it was taken so specifically looking at that picture. And then on plant. And also they were really looking in on that window. And I think
Yeah.
yeah, and there was that bloody footprint on the side of the window, I believe, on that rock.
They had some footprints on the street. Hang on a second. I think I can pull some of those up. Yeah, the handprint was interesting. Let me pull that up real quick. I think these are some of the photos. So we had the handprint that was talked about. This.
Oh.
Remember these?
Yes.
See, a lot of people forget all this stuff.
Yes. Wow. Okay.
The handprint, you have the evidence marker there. That's the
It's like
tape.
no one picked this back up. And I remember, yeah, in that no signal, that's because they confiscated the electronics to do what they had to do.
Here's that look of that. The thing that I thought might, look at it. I'm just saying it could be a speaker.
So
it could be
solid. I just don't think it's a cup, but that's a really good catch too. If it is a cup, that could very well. Yeah. So right there, look, go back. So right there, that. Yeah, because they were looking, that's where they found the latent footprint. So he cut that corner.
Then you have
Interesting.
this area he was taking photos of. And then let me see what else can find. Yeah, we'll pull some of this up real quick. I'll pull some stuff up. Let's see that. What was this article? I'm trying to find the one with the marker you were talking about.
Oh, marker 3?
Yeah, I couldn't find that.
Gosh, let me see. Hold on.
Let's see. See, there's that handprint. There's the handprint right there.
Yeah, and they have the evidence sticker on it. I mean,
see the handprint?
Yep.
Look at the handprints. Okay. See, a lot of people forget about this stuff.
Interesting. And I mean, that's prints. So they took the prints with them, they dusted them.
They lifted them and took them.
They did.
Yeah.
Watch it be a match, eh?
Oh, man. That's the sign you were talking about that might have blinded them.
Yeah, and then on the other side, when you see the video of the kids, there's a picture of them on the couch, and they're also doing impressions of each other. You see those fairy lights on the other side of the living room. Those both of those with him and apparently having visual snow, bad vision or whatever.
They're swabbing an area right there. You hear that?
Wait, go back.
So someone goes, "Oh wow, they're getting ready to swab." Watch this.
Oh wow.
That shook.
You get the swab.
And they're going shh because they don't want people knowing that they're there. Let's go back again. I love going back over all this old stuff.
Yeah.
See the swab? She got the swab in her hand. She's swabbing something near a table.
The corner of the table.
Yep.
Man.
Oh wow.
And then she's swabbing the floor.
You get the swab.
There had to have been droplets.
It's
it had
everywhere.
to be, and I think the reason why they made it like the footprint,
some
the late
photos
footprint, so you can get a full size
Oh,
footprint.
what was that? What did he pull up?
Evidence.
Yep.
He bagged it.
Yep.
Did she swab it and he picked it up?
Yeah, maybe quite possibly.
Oof.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff.
I'm going to go back over that.
Well, I'm going to go back and do a store. I'm probably going to do a lot of this tomorrow night. Now,
Cool.
Now that the house is down, I want to go back and look at all this stuff. So I'm going to prepare something tomorrow. And, like I said, they didn't take these items into evidence for nothing. They didn't take that speaker into nothing. And that's my point in all of doing this. And that's why I wanted to drill this across everybody's mind. Because this is another possibility of a connection of Kohberger being in this house. Everybody's loving this show, by the way. Says great show tonight. Love the caller. She's incredibly knowledgeable. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Aw. In the bag. Wait, in the bag like the show, or the guy putting it in the bag?
Oh, I think putting it in the bag.
Yeah, that's funny. That you meant the show. It's in the bag. But whatchamacallit, what was I gonna say? Man, I don't know how you do comments in a show at the same time.
It's a ton. I'm gonna tell you. I'll take a picture of my setup after and send it to you. You're gonna laugh. It's 3 screens. I'm looking at 3 screens right now. I have a camera, 2 lights, 3 screens. I'm constantly watching. I mean, when you do a live show, you don't have a producer. You're doing it yourself. You just have to learn how to do it.
You have to have the eyes of a fly.
Right. You just have to
All over
learn
the
how to do it. And now I'm so used to doing it. It's almost like second
Yeah,
nature.
you actually have conversations with us in the chat while you're giving, showing us the content you've created.
And people get angry at me about it. And I'm like, you have to interact with the audience, people.
Oh yeah, no, we appreciate that a lot.
Well, Alex is saying this case is in the bag.
Oh, all right. I got it wrong twice. It is in the bag. I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I don't know, any final statements? We're coming about an hour and a half. That's usually when I like to end. I just want to say before we go, Kimmy, thank you so much for giving me your time, your expertise. I knew the minute I had a phone conversation with you today that this was going to be a really great show. It turned out really well. And again, we're not criminologists. We're not police. I'm just giving you my opinion. Everything that we say here is not 100% correct, but we try to do our theories and our research as much as we can try to do as much research as we can, use our expertise that we may have had in those fields and bring this and present it to you. As the audience, you have to make the decision. Am I bullshit or am I not bullshit? And
Right.
I think Kimmy brought a lot to the show. And listen, it just really locked up this Bluetooth theory. And I think this is something that people need to keep in the back of their mind, because I think the cast information and all the digital forensics in this case is going to sink this guy. Even if the DNA was thrown out, I'm telling you, the digital footprint is going to snafu this guy. He's going to take him down.
Oh man. And let me add this. I wanted to add this is
Sure.
that we as human beings just are, to our core, we have an intuition that was embedded into our DNA to survive. Okay. So if we have that weird feeling, right? So we can tell if there's cognitive dissonance. We can tell something ain't right. We're in danger. So we want to know, right? We want to know if our community will be safe by the decisions we make. And we have taken this case personally. I feel like more than a lot. Like I got into true crime in the Delphi case. I was interested in like bizarre stuff, like, unexplained stuff. But like, we as humans want justice for other humans. We want to know what we can do. And we as survivors, naturally, we piece together puzzles to make sure that we are safe. And I think that's what we're doing here. We just piece together the puzzle and we figure out who's not safe to be around and we lock them away. And this is Brian Kohberger. He already my intuition and my gut, he's a monster. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just our eyes tell a lot about us, and his eyes are terrifying.
Yeah. And I'll get to the super chat in a second. I just want to kind of go off the back of that. Is the reason I think we do this, and I think the reason that we get involved is that and we investigate and we like to listen about these cases, is that we're all very self-aware people. We want to know our environments. We want to know the people that are around us. We're the type of people that look in on our neighbors and let them know, hey, I saw something odd. The other day I was just outside when I was sick and getting some fresh air, and unfortunately my neighbor had a couple of rats run out of her yard. She has a very nice house, a gorgeous house. And we have a abandoned golf course that has a little bit of a rat problem, and they're kind of making their way through our neighborhood now. But I wanted to let her know and just say, look, I don't want to freak you out, but I saw some rats on the property. You want to just keep an eye on your stuff. And that's what we do as our our neighbors, our communities. We have to live here. We have to live in and around these environments. Right. We don't want, and I'll use Christy's words, and I hate using this, but we don't want the boogeyman to come into our neighborhood and do things to us. And that's why we are in tune individuals. And that's why I said, and I'm going a little longer here than I wanted, but I always see this new thing with people putting ear pods in their ears and not listening to the environment around them. I see it particularly in very younger people, and I'm not getting on people about that. But when you're out in a situation, you're out in the environment, I just want to urge you to take those out.
And pick your head up.
Your brain is developing. And today there are a lot of crazy people in this world, but your brain is still in the developmental stage. And what you're doing is you're shutting off the natural ability of how our brains are supposed to learn our environments. So you're blocking out sound, you're blocking out frequency, you're blocking out response. And if some shit goes down and you don't pay attention, or you don't get that feeling like something's going to happen, you haven't learned that audible or visual cue, you're fucked.
Right. Yeah. You need all your senses to survive. Okay. And a lot of people have their heads in their phones more than not. You're so right. And I think this is also a cautionary tale. I think they probably, if they were very in their phones, they filmed everything they did. They were in their phones a lot. They were in TikTok a lot. I feel like there might have been telltale signs that would have, and I hate this.
Well, it was easy prey, and I don't want to shit on the victims.
Right.
I'm not doing that, but I think that's where the vulnerability, and Brian Kohberger knew that.
Absolutely.
Why he picked these people. Real quick, Allison with the $4.99. Happy birthday, Allison.
Happy birthday.
You're so much. No, thank you. Don't thank me. And I saw MLS Making Law Simple, a new member. Thank you so much for checking in. I do appreciate and becoming a member of the channel. So, I think this is where, and I want to make sure that people understand this. And listen, I'm not victim blaming or anything like that, but we need to be more aware. We need to be more aware of our environment. We need to soak in that environment, listen to those audible cues, listen to those visual cues, feel your environment, feel the vibration. If something feels wrong, guess what? It probably is.
Absolutely. Take this as a cautionary tale, folks.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to wrap this up. We're about an hour and a half. I've taken a lot of Kimmy's time. I appreciate coming on the live. Maybe we can have you back in a couple weeks and we can follow up. If we hear any new details, maybe the Bluetooth speaker now gets talked about on News Nation a little bit more. I don't know.
Man, watch it. It will. And I'll be ready and I'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have you back. Stay in contact. Let's have you back on again, soon, and we'll catch up. Thank you so much for your expertise, your time. Thank you for the awesome audience that came in this evening and interacted with the stream. I hope you got some value. Again, we're not saying that everything that we said today is 1,000% true, but I think we have some good theories based on concrete evidence and things that, we went out and researched and put out there, and I feel confident about it. Again, think about it. I'm going to leave you with this thought before we go off air. If Kayla Gonzalez's speaker had nothing to do with this crime, then why is it held in evidence? Why are the police not giving it back to the Gonzalez family? Why are the police not giving Kayla Gonzalez's phone back to her own family? So think about that with that parting thought, and we're going to head out. Kimmy, thank you once again. I appreciate it. If you want to say anything to the audience, it's your stage real quick.
Okay. One thing, and I want to leave another thought to think of. Steve also mentioned the mail package. All right. I want to explore that next time we speak.
Yeah.
I feel like that is significant.
He said something about they had to come over and we had to sign off something about some mail.
Yeah. And the search warrant for UPS or FedEx, right? Yeah. So that's
wonder
conversation.
Kohberger sending some packages or something like that. It'd be interesting.
Or a plant from someone anonymous. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll try to dig into it and figure it out. All right, everybody. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit the outro. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, guys.